They were exploring a remote village when they see this. A few Japanese friends were exploring a remote village in Japan when they came across a river and started skipping stones across it. Shortly after, the temperature suddenly started to drop and it became very cold. Then they see something terrifying. It got so cold that they could see their breath as if it were an icy night, and at the same time a creepy figure can be seen in the dark just standing there, watching them.
ちょっと来て、こっち来て。誰がいた？誰がいたってそこに。いや、そこ誰がいたって。ないって。いや、本当だって。ないって。いや、マジだって。誰がいたって。え？どうした？いやー、何？何どうした？やばいって。やばいって。いや、マジだって。
We see the same creepy figure up close, which appears to have a doll-like face.
あ、俺やんの？マジかよ。白い子？何食った？マジでそれ。腹減った。
They believe what they saw that night was a Yukiona, a yokai also known as a snow woman that lives in very cold places and has the ability to lower temperatures.
Holy shit, we have breaking spooky season news a day early before spooky season starts tomorrow. I'm Chuck, I'd love to be your movie guy. Hit the like button, give me a follow, and tomorrow, for the first time ever, the original unseen version of The Houses October Built is dropping on Shudder. Yes, you heard that right, dropping on Shudder. The Houses October Built, one of my favorite horror films. It's about 5 friends that are sick of run-of-the-mill haunted houses with fake chainsaws and plastic masks. They hear rumors of more extreme, more adult haunted houses existing. So they take a road trip and set out to find this extreme haunt. And it's a road trip that you will never forget. The Houses October Built is a slow burn in the beginning, but trust me, the payoff is absolutely worth it. I have been watching this movie every Halloween season for years, and I'm definitely going to watch it tomorrow night, October 1st on Shudder. The Houses October Built, the unseen original version. I'm Chuck, I'd love to be your movie guy. Hit that like button, give me a follow.
The following video was shot by Sierra Rose, who had paid a visit to an abandoned asylum. According to her, there was an overwhelming sensation of sadness and dread that she and her boyfriend felt while exploring the place. She also adds that they felt an intense energy surrounding them. The footage shot by Sierra might just prove that there was something there with them. This is what she caught.
I'm freaking out. You guys, guys,
Grandma? Is anybody there?
This woman is not as innocent as she looks. In 1974, in the quiet town of Little Stewart, there was a woman named Mary Juan, but she was known as Little Mary. Mary had a twisted hobby. Neighbors whispered that anyone who crossed her path mysteriously vanished. No one ever suspected her, until one day, a young boy named Jimmy disappeared after delivering groceries to her house. His family searched, but the only clue was a single grocery bag left on her doorstep. The police questioned Mary, but she was calm, offering tea to the officers. They found nothing in her home and moved on. But one night, a neighbor saw something terrifying. Mary was digging in her garden under the full moon, burying something. The next morning, a perfectly tended flower bed appeared in its place. Months later, more people vanished, always with Mary being the last person to see them. When the truth finally came out, it was far worse than anyone imagined. Mary had been using her victims as fertilizer for her garden. But when authorities stormed her house, Mary had vanished, and what they saw when they entered her bedroom was truly horrifying.
In this video, you learn about the daycare that kills kids.
I'll pass. Whoa, you are terrifying looking.
Eyes are so pretty and full of curiousness, my friend. I love it.
Thanks.
Hey, I'm gonna teach you how to use your kitchen stove. If
Okay.
you didn't know, it's used by your parents to make you some delicious
Mom,
food.
thick.
One day, your parents will die, and you'll have to make your own food. So it's better to start early. Who knows what's gonna happen tomorrow?
Oh my God, you're. Oh.
Start a fire. Basically,
Okay.
press and twist. That's how easy it is. Good job, my friend. Now you can both fry and cook.
That's a head.
Who was knocking?
Oh my God.
It was your chocolate smoking father. Seems like he's about to. Oh, seems like we got no time left. That's so sad. I didn't even
Oh
get
my
enough time
God.
to know you better.
Please back up.
Hopefully we will meet in the next episode.
Please back
And
up.
for now,
I currently go to a 24-hour gym in my town. It's usually on the quieter side most of the day, but during the night hours it really becomes a ghost town. I don't quite understand how they could afford to stay open 24/7. I had to work late one night to cover for someone else's shift, so I got off work at 11 p.m. I planned on heading right over to the gym to get a quick midnight workout in. When I got there, nobody else was there. I was the only one working out. Well, only for about 10 minutes, until I finally spotted someone else working out. It made me feel a little less odd for being there so late. The guy was wearing a beanie and a hoodie. I was sweating just looking at him, to be honest. I mean, yeah, it was cold out, but it wasn't cold in the gym. I barely had enough time to analyze his odd clothing decision before he started staring me down. I looked back for as long as I felt comfortable before deciding to look away. I felt like he seemed to be challenging my dominance because I still felt his stare through my peripheral vision. I kept shooting brief looks back at him to still find him staring at me. I tried my best to ignore it and went on with my workout. I just couldn't take the staring anymore though. So I went to a different section of the gym, where there was absolutely no one around. I was finally able to work out in peace. I was doing bicep curls by the free weights while facing the mirror. That's when I noticed it. That guy in the beanie was hiding behind one of the chest press machines. There was a slight opening between the lifting mechanism and the actual weights on the machine, and through that opening was the guy's face, once again staring at me. I think when he realized that I noticed him, he moved away out of sight behind the machine. I'm way too timid a person to go approach anybody like that, so instead of confronting him, I put the weights down and left the room. I walked straight to the front desk and asked the girl working to tell the man to either stop staring at me like that or to leave the gym. She looked down the aisle of workout machines and saw nobody. I asked her to come follow me. She was clearly very reluctant to do so, but she ended up coming with me to the back room. We looked around the room, but he wasn't in there. In fact, it seemed like he wasn't even in the gym anymore. I apologized and told her to keep an eye out for the man in the beanie. She walked back to her desk, and I kept working out for another 10 to 15 minutes. I waved goodbye to the girl as I left the gym and went to my car. As I put the key in the door lock, I heard manic footsteps hitting the concrete. I was confused at first. It sounded like somebody running in my direction. I turned 180 degrees. Someone was sprinting towards me from the dark. I stood like an animal frozen in headlights for a second as I stared in shock. When the person emerged into the circle of light under the light post I was parked under, I was able to instantly recognize the guy in the beanie and hoodie from earlier. I opened the car door and jumped inside, slamming it shut behind me. I slammed my hand down on that tiny lock knob atop the door handle a split second before the man tried to open the door. As I started the car, he started to kick at my door and window. I threw the handle into reverse and stepped on the gas. The car jolted backwards away from the man, and I was able to escape the parking lot safely. I got home and found a bunch of dents in my door from the man's kicks. Admittedly, I should have called the cops, or even the gym, and warned the girl of the man now that she was alone. Instead, I selfishly just went to bed and told myself I would never go to the gym late at night again.
Time, motherfuckers. And this year, for the month of October, for 31 days, I'm bringing you 31 spooky creators that you should follow. I'm Chuck. I'd love to be your movie guy. Hit the like button, give me a follow, and what's the sense of having this platform if I cannot shine the light on others? The suspense is killing you of who the first one's gonna be, isn't it? It's my pleasure to introduce you to Jade at Frankenchrist. Jade is relatively new on this app, but listen, we've been watching and she's been grinding. Although being a little raw, she gets really excited and her personality and her knowledge for horror seeps through the screen. I've been following her for a while now, and watching her journey has been a pleasure. And it's not just movie reviews, she has some really ingenious creative ideas to her content. Like greatest death scenes, and listen, she even watched a Serbian film. I don't know why, but you gotta respect the research. So I'm not telling you what to do, but I think that you should go over to Jade's page and you should give her a look, and if you like what you see, which I'm sure you're going to, you should give her a like and a follow and some encouragement to continue on her journey. She has something and is going to blow up someday. Mark my words. 30 more to go. I'm Chuck. I'd love to be your movie guy. Hit that like button. Give me a follow.
Over to your date's house for the first time and find out that they got a man dressed as a dog living with them. This is Sigrid. She meets Christian, this real rich guy, on a dating app. They go on a date. It all goes well. So she goes back to his place, which is this big old fancy house. And it goes so well that she stays the night. I'm sure you can guess what else happens in that time frame. But she wakes up the next morning to a dog in her face. She freaks out and leaves, as she should. But then she ends up feeling bad and she comes back. She comes back, she's formally introduced to Frank, the guy dressed as the dog, and she must treat Frank as a real dog, even letting him sniff her, and at one point Frank jumps up on her like a real dog would do. Christian gets pretty embarrassed about this. Soon, Christian, Sigrid, and Frank all go on a trip together to stay at the cabin, and at one point Frank and Sigrid are alone together, and Frank rips his doggy self off, and then pretty much says Christian is crazy. This leads Sigrid to try to find a way to escape, and so she takes Frank for a walk, and she starts trying to talk about escaping when Frank is like, you gotta stop, Christian is listening to our every word. And Frank was right, Christian was always listening, and this one ends with Sigrid and Frank both sitting obediently, dressed as dogs, being good boys and girls.
The King is back. That's right. Bruce Campbell's newest show, Hysteria, is set to come out soon, and here's what you need to know. This show is set during the Satanic Panic era of the 80s, and it's about a high school heavy metal band that wants to capitalize on their town's sudden interest in the occult. And they do this by rebranding themselves as Satanists in a satanic heavy metal band. And while that works for them at first, it backfires big time when the hysteria in the town boils over and the band becomes the primary targets in the town's witch hunt. I think that this looks like a campy, fun take on the Satanic Panic era, and it's always good to get just a little bit more Bruce Campbell. You'll be able to catch all 8 episodes of Hysteria premiering on Peacock October 18th, so just in time for you to binge this for Halloween. And as always, make sure you hit that follow button for daily movie updates. I'm Tyler, and I'll see you next time.
If you are close to death, at night you might see the mourner.
Dad? Roshan? Is everything okay? I'm gonna make more soup for you. It always calmed you down when you were a kid. I'm fine. I'm sorry. It's my job to take care of you, even if you plan to leave me for college soon.
This omen is a surefire sign of loss approaching, and can only be seen by the soon-to-be deceased.
You need to eat. You know your health is struggling. I'm okay. I feel better. I'm your dad. You'll always be my baby.
Though death approaches, all might not be lost. I need you to help me. Please. If you see the mourner, do not lose hope, dear friend, because if it can, it would much rather see you alive.
things humans were never meant to see. They strapped a camera to a shark and look what it captured. As you can see, the camera is attached. Now, as the shark goes deeper in the water, you won't believe the shocking sighting it caught. Wait for it. Now look closely. Is that a mermaid?
This American woman killed 300 people in one day. In the quiet town of Goobersville, Indiana, in 1949, a woman named Aileen G. Anus was the beloved lunch lady at Sunnydale High. For 20 years, Aileen served meals with a smile. But one morning, she had other plans. She laced the school's water supply with a colorless, odorless poison. By noon, students and staff began collapsing. Chaos erupted. The hospital was overwhelmed. Parents rushed to the school in panic. As sirens wailed, Aileen calmly walked home humming a cheerful tune. The death toll rose to 352 lives lost. An entire generation of Sunnydale gone. Aileen was found in her kitchen, baking cookies and listening to the radio. Her only words upon arrest, "I was saving them from the pain of living." Investigators later discovered 20 years' worth of journals detailing her plans. The Sunnydale massacre remains one of the deadliest single-day killings. In 1954, police decided to investigate her home more. They decided to break the walls, and what they found there was truly horrifying.
The mourner comes back. When your death approaches, you might see the mourner. This omen signals the end, but it is unclear how or why. Those who have seen the mourner often become terrified and irrational. Your son has been chronically ill. How could he just leave?
I don't know.
Why haven't you gone after him?
It's really dangerous out there. You know how people are driving.
Why are you even up this late?
I'm not going to sleep anymore. If an intruder breaks in, I need to be prepared.
They often do anything they can to escape death.
Alright, you've had your fun. Now you're going to tell me what's going to happen. 3, 2,
But sometimes, they let him in themselves.
Some morning, sorry will be if they don't try to keep away.
13 horror movies that have scared the shit out of me.
If you've been following me for a while, you know that I've seen hundreds of horror films. So I typically don't get too freaked out while watching them, but these 13 horror movies have rattled me and unsettled me. So with that being said, let's get into it. At lucky number 13, I have the Mexican horror film, The Similars. This movie is eerie and very Twilight Zone-esque. It puts the characters in a very bizarre situation, and for me personally, if I was in this situation, I would flip the fuck out. So this movie takes place in the 1960s at a secluded bus station during a freak rainstorm. One by one, each character falls victim to a very bizarre seizure. Upon waking up from that seizure, they will find that they all have the same face as one man at the bus station. Even all the magazines and posters at the bus station all have this face of that man. As paranoia ensues, that is when shit really hits the fan and begins to unravel. If you would like to check out The Similars, here's the list of where this one is currently streaming. Next up, I have the found footage horror movie, Grave Encounters. Yes, this movie starts off a little bit cheesy, but it's meant to be a little bit cheesy. And when I say cheesy, think of the TV show Ghost Hunters. Because it's essentially that. It's about this crew that have their own TV show, and they're going to be spending the night in an alleged psychiatric hospital. They will quickly find out that there is some pissed off spirits in this hospital. So what really creeps me out about this movie is they find themselves lost in these endless hallways. Each exit that they find, they open the door and it's just more hallways. They also realize that they've been lost for almost days and the sun has not come up. So they're essentially thrown through this time loop paradox in this labyrinth from hell while being tormented by some malevolent spirits. I'm sorry, that's fucking nightmare fuel for me. If you would like to check this one out, here's a list of where this one is currently streaming. At number 11, I have another found footage horror movie, The Taking of Deborah Logan. This movie is equally horrifying and heartbreaking. This movie is about a film crew that is going to document an elderly lady named Deborah Logan who is suffering from the onsets of dementia. But as her behavior grows more erratic, they will begin to suspect that she may be possessed by a malevolent entity. This movie is a little bit of a slow burn, but trust me, when it gets there, it goes fucking hard. Not to mention that cave scene at the end of the movie, if you know, you know, because that scene literally is burned into my memory forever. If you would like to check this one out, here's a list of where this one is currently streaming. At number 10, I have John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. This is such a fantastic cosmic horror movie, and if you're a fan of cosmic horror, I would highly recommend checking this one out. This movie stars Sam Neill, who plays a private investigator who's been hired by a publishing company to find their famed horror author, Sutter Kane. After putting together some clues, he will begin to suspect that Sutter Kane may be trying to hide out in a fictional town. So he and a woman from the publishing company go on this wild goose chase to see if they can actually find this fictional town, and are completely gobsmacked when they do. Once in town, they will quickly realize that the people that they interact with and the places that they stay are people and places directly from Sutter Kane's novels. This will begin to blur the line of fiction and reality. And in my personal opinion, this movie has one of the best jump scares in a horror movie. Like I said, if you're a fan of cosmic horror movies, I would highly recommend checking out In the Mouth of Madness. And if you would like to check this one out, here's a list of where this one is currently streaming to rent. At number 9, I have the Japanese horror movie, Pulse. This movie is about a group of people that are reeling from the unexpected death of one of their friends. But they'll begin to realize that their friend's death may be a result of evil spirits coming out from the internet. Okay, so yes, plot-wise, this is a little dated and a little bit cheesy. Trust me, the scares in this movie are just so fucking subtle, but so on point and fucking effective. Because a lot of the scares are very background, and once you catch it, you find yourself gasping and clutching your pearls. This is a great paranormal horror movie, and I would highly recommend checking this one out. And yes, there was an American remake, but don't watch that one. Just skip it and go to the OG. If you would like to check this one out, here's a list of where this one is currently streaming. Number 8, The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This movie is about a father and son who run their own mortuary. One stormy night, they are brought the unidentified body of a young woman tagged Jane Doe. As they start their autopsy, they will discover some very strange findings. Things like her tongue being cut off, weird markings underneath her skin, and strange little notes tucked away into her fingernails. And that's just the half of it. And that's when all the supernatural shit begins to happen. So this is one of those horror movies that isn't outwardly scary or freaky, but yet it creeps into your subconscious and you find yourself thinking about this movie for days. If you would like to check this one out, here's a list of where this one is currently streaming. 7, I have the Argentinian horror film Terrified. This movie is about 3 paranormal researchers that have been sent to investigate a neighborhood that has been plunged into a supernatural nightmare. The way that this movie is so fucking unsettling is unreal. This scene alone literally sent chills down my spine. This movie is suspenseful and freaky, and I'm not even joking when I say this, it scared the shit out of me. Even just from the opening scene in the bathroom, my jaw was literally on the floor from shock. If you would like to check this one out, here's a list of where this one is currently streaming. At number 6, I have the found footage horror movie Hell House LLC. This movie is about a group of friends that are renovating an abandoned hotel and they want to turn it into a haunted maze for Halloween. They will quickly realize that this place is in fact haunted. This is arguably one of the best found footage horror movies out there. For me personally, what really freaks me the fuck out about this movie is this clown prop. Because this clown prop moves around and everyone inside is just kind of like, did you move him? And they're like, no. So it ends up in different rooms, and honestly, I do have a fear of inanimate objects coming to life. So it really played into that fear for me, but overall, this was such a subtle but yet chaotic and fucking freaky ass found footage horror film. If you would like to check this one out, here's a list of where this one is currently streaming. Of course, I want to share my top 5 horror movies that have scared the shit out of me, but I think I'm going to pause it right here. For the movies that I mentioned in this video, I would love to know what your thoughts are in the comments, and like for part 2.
This is not a test. This is your emergency broadcast system announcing the commencement of the annual purge sanctioned by the US government. Weapons of Class 4 and lower have been authorized for use during the purge. All other weapons are restricted. Government officials of ranking 10 have been granted immunity from the purge and shall not be harmed. Commencing at the siren, any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. Police, fire, and emergency medical services will be unavailable until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. when the purge concludes. Blessed be our new founding fathers and America, a nation reborn. May God be with you all.